I've been looking forward to this all day. I got in last night to rainy Sun Valley. And I knew it was a special place when the pilot announced on the way in, no, actually we are going to be able to land at Sun Valley. I think that you know about that story, don't you? And as we've been treated to the most extraordinary hospitality. But this is why I'm here. I came for you. I wanted to be with you. And we're gonna have fun. Here's the thing. People may not be interested in aging, but aging is interested in them. I'll tell you a little bit about my background. We had a very nice introduction, but let me just say, I actually started my career as an emergency room physician. And, you know, Harvard med grad, hot shot, determined to go pew. And one day, the administrator of a local nursing home called me up and said, Dr. Thomas, would you like to be our medical director? This was the easiest question I had ever been asked. No! No, I would not like that. Back in those days, we used to, they've done away with this largely now, but we used to work 24 hours on, 24 hours off, 24 hours on. Some of you in healthcare remember that. And so I went back to work, had the most, well, the slang in the ER was getting slammed. We got slammed. You know, right from the opening bell, boom. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. There's a fight at the local prison. My ER is full of screaming men, bleeding and chained to stretchers. I only have 6 more hours to go. And I'm leaning against the wall and a thought comes into my head, you know. There's got to be a better way to make a living. I go home and I go to bed. And I don't know why, but that nursing home administrator called me up again. Now, my mom is a Methodist minister, and she thinks she knows. But the fact is, he caught me in a moment of weakness. And I said to him, oh, I'll come take a look, thinking if I took this part-time job, I could give up one night in the ER, right? That could work. I took the job, and then I fell in love. I fell in love with elders, people who care about elders and their families. And you know how it is when you fall in love. The thing is, though, I had to admit the truth. And the truth was, this nursing home where I was working had been completely free of any inspection violations of any kind for 5 years, and there was no way I would ever want to live there. They were doing everything right, but it was still wrong. And I want to take you with me very quickly on a journey, a little journey of discovery to help you tag along with me on a career and see what might be useful to you. Here's the first thing I learned. All of my training, all of the rules and regulations, everything was set up to reinforce the idea that aging is all about decline. That aging is defined by decline. And I was told explicitly that my job was to help older people manage their decline. I don't know why, but this did not seem right to me. Maybe it was because I was in love. And the elders I was in love with didn't seem to be about decline. They seemed to be really extraordinary human beings who were living and loving and laughing and learning. So the first pivot point in my career is when I shifted away from an orientation that said, aging is about decline, to this perspective, which I hold to this day. Every part of life is about growth. Every single part. From that first moment when you let out that first wah, you've been growing. And it's going to continue. And as someone who has been at the bedside of many, many, many people as they have died, I can tell you the growth continues until the last breath leaves your body. After that, call my mom. I don't know. She picks it up from there. But I got plenty to do here. Growth is a lifelong phenomenon. People are born to grow. And I thought I'd offer you a couple of insights that you could take with you, a couple of explanations of things that you might have wondered about, and now here you have a geriatrician standing right in front of you. Because when I fell in love, I left my ER career, became a geriatrician. I am one of the few geriatricians in America. There are not many of them. Are there any geriatricians here tonight? Not? I'm the only one? Wow. Okay. Here's the first question. Why do older people die more often than younger people? What's up with that? You probably noticed it. Why? Why do older people die more often than younger people? The answer actually has a lot to do with your well-being right now here today. So here's the answer. All living things, all living creatures have a state of being that scientists call homeostasis, which is a great way of saying in the pocket, feeling good, just right where you want to be, okay? All your systems are in balance, you're comfortable, the environment's right, that's homeostasis. But the world is constantly pushing us out of homeostasis. Like that time you had to go watch the Nutcracker Ballet. Like the time you got stuck on that airplane in Dallas in August. All of us, all the time, we're constantly getting pushed out away from homeostasis. And here's the thing. Here's what you need to remember. It takes energy to get back to homeostasis. Okay, imagine there's a square up here. The environment pushes me away from homeostasis. I use my energy to get back. There's a boundary line around me where if I get pushed past that boundary line, I don't have enough energy to get back. When that happens, it's lights out. You're done. Now, when we are young, that boundary around us is very big. You can get pushed a really long way and find your way back to homeostasis. As we age, normal aging makes that boundary zone about 1% smaller every year. So by the time you're 90, and a lot of us are, by the time you're 90, the boundary zone you're living in is roughly 60% smaller than the boundary zone you lived in when you were 30. Okay? Makes sense? Now, here's the last kicker, the reason. Any given day, there's a chance any person on the planet will get pushed out of their boundary zone. The smaller your reserve capacity, the greater the odds that you'll get pushed out on any given day. Make sense? It turns out the Grim Reaper is a statistician. It's that simple. Here's the second thing I want to get clear with you. The question is, when does human aging begin? Now, the most common answer is at birth. It's true. At birth, we start getting older one day at a time. And if you've not noticed, everybody gets older one day at a time. Nobody gets older 2 days at a time or 0 days at a time. All of us, it's 1 day at a time. So that getting older thing, that's been going since we were born. But when did aging start? When do we start aging the way we understand the concept? Any guesses or clues? When does aging begin?
When we admit that we're old.
When we admit that we're old, 70, 28. Yesterday. The correct answer? 28. Normal human aging begins right around the 28th birthday. You started aging. If there are people here under 28, too bad for you. But for the rest of us, we started aging when we turned 28. And the most amazing thing about human beings is that we age better than any other creature on Earth. Have you ever seen a geriatric giraffe? No, you have not. Have you ever seen a zebra who's turned all gray? No, you have not. And the reason is, outside of the human species, there isn't a lot of aging. If you're an antelope and you can't run as fast as the other antelopes, they call you lunch. But humans have this extraordinary ability not just to live past the peak of our physical capacity. We live most of our lives on the other side of that curve. It's amazing. It's beautiful. And some people have argued, well, aging, old people, it's kind of sad that aging brings depression and unhappiness. The research shows the opposite. The unhappiest decade in human life, statistically speaking, are the 40s. People living in your 40s, I know there are some of you here, it's bad. It is bad, man, really bad. And if you take all the data and you crunch all the numbers, the unhappiest year of human life, 47. I hear some shocking gasps of recognition. How did he know that? That was a really bad year. Now remember, I'm talking about big surveys with lots of people where they ask them, how happy are you? It turns out young people are pretty happy. It starts declining into the 30s, hits bottom in the mid-40s. Those of us who are older than 47, baby, yeah. We have got it. Whew. Now here's the irony. I'm going to put two ideas together for you, and they don't seem to fit, but I'm going to show you how they do. All these years you spend living with a reserve capacity that's smaller and smaller and smaller, you get happier and happier and happier. In fact, as a geriatrician, I can tell you that there are some very, very happy people who are completely sure that the end of their life is in the near future, and they are happy. How? The answer lies in a little magic trick. You see, every one of us, every morning, wakes up with a black velvet bag on the bedside table next to us, and in that bag are gold coins. And those gold coins represent the amount of energy you have available for the day. You get up in the morning, you've got your gold coins, woohoo! And when you're 28, do you know what you do with those gold coins? Yeah, baby! Yahoo! Waha! You scatter them everywhere. And as you start to get older, when you wake up in the morning, there aren't as many gold coins in the bag. And you start going, I got to think about this. That's where the happiness comes from. The happiness is moving from the illusion of unlimited energy and immortality to the truth. We are mortal beings. And if I live long enough, I'm going to wake up one morning and there's going to be 3 coins in that bag. And I'm going to really think about how I'm going to spend them. And that's where the happiness comes from. It's hard to hear this in American society where we have an automatic equation, more is better. It's weird. In this case, less is better. Now, I changed my profession from emergency medicine, which is really fun and cool, to geriatrics. And I committed myself to a career taking care of the most frail, most poor, most vulnerable older people in America. Because they're the most awesome. And I loved them. And I kept a practice that made me very happy for a long time. And there came a day when, because of the work I was doing like this and other things, I determined that I was going to leave my practice. And man, I had the longest 2 months of my life saying goodbye to everybody. Because I believe good medicine is founded on relationship and knowing and caring and loving. That's how I am. So I became a geriatrician at large and wandering minstrel. That's the phase of life I'm in right now. So, and what I want to tell you about is what I learned from elders while I was taking care of them about how to navigate or negotiate this process that we call aging. And I'm going to summarize it for you in a simple way. I'm taking kind of 20 years of experience and squeezing it down, but I found it to be really helpful when I was talking to my patients, and now I'm making a house call, so I'll do it with you too. The secret to happy, successful aging is mesh. M-E-S-H, 4 things. M stands for move. E stands for eat. S stands for sleep. And H stands for heal. If you can sort those out, you're doing fine. Those are the really big things. Get them right, and a lot of other things will follow. So let's take them in turn. Move. If you would like to be dancing in the White House when you're 106, you've got to be dancing when you're 105. That's how that works. And I found already in my short time here, they're going to be doing research on you guys. Because I know I'm talking about move, and you're like, got it, check. I have heard the stories. A nice fellow picked me up at the airport. He happened to be 61, was telling me about people who happened to be 75 blowing by him on the trails, you know, like, see you later. So move. And here's a couple of things about move, to be more specific about it. About moving, the first thing is posture. And I know your mom told you this, but she was right. I really work with my patients and so on to really help people work on posture. Posture is so important, and it's worth the effort to invest in mental habits related to posture. Number 2, balance. Well, you guys are thinking about that a lot anyway, right? But here's the thing. You can integrate balance practice into what your everyday life, what you're doing. So let's say you're online at the grocery store. Pick up one foot. Stand on one foot. Put that foot down. Pick up the other foot. Stand on one foot. Practice balance. It's not just, your balance isn't just something you have, it's something you can grow. Third, range of motion. You're familiar with this. Lots of great ways to engage with range of motion. Here, here, this is a group of people who I think are pretty familiar with yoga and Tai Chi and so on and so forth. If you've thought to yourself at some point in the past, that seems kind of weird and I don't want to do that, reconsider your position. It's really something that can be extremely helpful to you. So, posture, balance, range of motion. Put those things together. You don't have to be an Olympic athlete. You just have to take care of what you got. Okay? Eat. When you live in a youth-obsessed society, it's easy to get the idea that food is the enemy. And what older people taught me is food is your friend. Enjoy good food. Enjoy it. Enjoy preparing it. And most of all, when possible, enjoy it in good company. Excuse me, in good company. That is, good food shared in good company is called convivium. That's what the Romans called it. And it's a beautiful way to get the most out of food. So you're on a food adventure. The food adventure ends when you get pushed out of the box. So enjoy it while you can. As a geriatrician, you can imagine, I did not believe in and did not advocate for restrictive diets for older people. I was mostly concerned that older people get good food and share it with good people as often as possible. Eat. Sleep. Now, we could have come out here and I could have done all day on sleep, but let me just give you a couple of things. Normal humans have changing sleep patterns as they age. This is normal, what I'm going to tell you. First thing, older people experience something called phase advance. Phase advance means they go to bed earlier at the end of the day and rise earlier in the morning. Are any of you familiar with this? So a lot of people are like, what? This is called phase advance, perfectly normal. Number two, older people are often, and this is sometimes not normal and a problem, have what's called increased sleep latency. Sleep latency is the time between you go to bed and you're asleep. How long is that? If it's longer than 15 minutes, that you can make some changes in your bedtime routine to decrease sleep latency. Sleep efficiency. How much of the time you're in bed are you actually asleep? You want to take care to increase your sleep efficiency. Now, older people have increased what's called sleep fragmentation. That's normal. I currently have a 17-year-old living in the house. Boom, goes to sleep, wakes up 12 hours later. And you're like, how do you do that? Well, it's normal for an adolescent. It's not normal for me, for most of the people here, it's not normal. Sleep fragmentation during the night, getting up during the night, normal thing, okay? So I used to have people come into the office and say, I need a sleeping pill. Why do you need a sleeping pill? I get up during the night. Well, getting up during the night is not the problem. Increased sleep latency is a problem. Decreased sleep efficiency is the problem. You following me on this? There is an entire thing which you can study after I leave town called sleep hygiene. If you Google sleep hygiene, hygiene actually in this context means health. So healthy sleeping, it can give you lots of advice on how to improve your sleep efficiency. People need sleep. Oh, one more thing. I just want you all to know, I took a nap today. If I get a chance, I take a nap. I'm big on napping. And older people that I have known have been big on napping. I come from a family of nappers. So it's a proud achievement. But I just want you to know that that should not be stigmatized. It shouldn't be, oh, I can't do that. I don't go to bed during the day. Take a nap. Really good. 20 minutes. Really nice. There are now, I won't go into it, but there are devices that can actually rouse you at just the right time in the sleep cycle so you get a really refreshing nap. Lots of good things. Sleep. I saved H for last because it's the most important. Healing. So I grew up, went to medical school. I had a bright, shining face. You should have seen me my first day of med school. I was totally convinced that I was going to become a healer. But it never worked out. I never became a healer. I have never healed anybody of anything. All of the healing power I have ever witnessed was contained in the individual I was partnering with. All healing comes from you. Now, it's like anything else. If you've got a great coach, you've got somebody giving you really good advice, helping you out in a pinch, that's good. But the healing comes from you. There's no wound that ever healed up because of the doctor. It healed up because you healed it, okay? And I want to say to you, the truth is, healing never takes us back. It always takes us forward. And there are people in this room who know this truth at the level of the marrow of your bones. There are people in this room who have lost a spouse, or a breast, or a lung, or a child. And your healing took you forward. You can never go back. You're not meant to go back. Healing is a journey into the future, not into the past. Understanding that puts you in a very different relationship with doctors and nurses. By the way, I would love to see the infusion center. That would be so awesome, because I'm really into great tools that help people get strong. I love it. But the healing comes from the patients, not the infusion center. It's important to keep that distinction in mind. The healing doesn't come from the pills. It comes from you. And if you're really lucky, you have a chance to collaborate with great professionals who have a great education, a lot of compassion, and they know you. If you have that, you're on the right path. And from what I've heard in this community, you're doing a great job. MESH. MESH. I sometimes have people say to me, hey, what's the cure to aging? You don't want to know. The fact is, we were born to age. It's in our nature. It's who we are. The question is, how do I make the most of this part of my life? How do I keep growing, keep changing, keep learning, keep loving? How do I take the coins in that bag and use them beautifully? So, in the spirit of what I've just said, I'd like to propose a little social experiment. I'm going to take time to answer questions. But I happen to be an introvert, and I know that if you ask questions in a group like this, all the extroverts will ask all the questions. So I believe if you look at your place, you'll see a little 3x5 index card or something very similar to that. Yeah. What I would like you to do is to write down for me, in the neatest handwriting you've got, write down for me the hardest question you can think of. Now, I wonder if we could bring the house lights up a little. There you go. The hardest question you've got. You have a geriatrician standing in front of you. It can be a question about you. Just don't put your name in there. It can be about somebody you love. It can be about kind of the topic of aging. It can be about our society. It can be about anything you want. This in internet terms is called AMA. Ask me anything. I don't care. The harder the question, the better. Ready? Write down your questions. I'm going to collect them, and I'm going to answer them as fast as I can. I'll be right back. You got questions? Wonderful. So here we go. Something else you need to know about me. I'm 56 years old. I have something called presbyopia. Presbyopia are the normal changes, thank you, that come with age. So I use reading glasses, except I lose mine and steal my wife's all the time. So, first question, what do you think of stem cell therapy? What do I think of stem cell therapy? I believe, thank you, I believe in therapy that is proven and has evidence and for which the benefits are substantially greater than the risks. That's what I believe in. Right now, to the best of my knowledge, stem cell therapy remains speculative. I hear good rumblings, but I'm not aware of it being approved for use or having been supported in that way. All right, next question. I love this, sex. And the answer is, yes, please. And as you're all aware, you don't even have to have another person involved. How awesome is that? Yeah, baby. So, the one thing I just want to say about sex in later life, I'm getting closer every day to that part of my life, but older patients I took care of told me that they experienced a substantial shift from a genitally focused kind of sex to a sex that was broader in its intimacy. And I think a lot of people have reflected on that and have experienced that. And I think it'd be great to normalize changes like that so people don't say, hey, our sex or my sex isn't like it used to be, that's bad. Actually, it could be great. It could be something new and different. Also, some people have clinical problems related to sex and that should be checked out by the doctor. You know why I'm saying that. Why, when we sleep, do we not wake up rested? So that's, when I say sleep, and I really should have covered this, I use the word sleep to mean restful sleep, okay? So being unconscious and waking up unrested, that's no good. So you want restful sleep. That's what sleep hygiene is for. So a person who lays down in bed, lays in bed for 14 hours, has very high latency, low efficiency, a lot of fragmentation, they might get 6 or 7 hours of sleep, but they're not rested because it's not in the form it needs to be. How do you overcome loneliness? The answer to loneliness is access to companionship. Companionship. Companionship can come in the form of another person, a companion animal, a dialogue or a relationship with a part of ourself. But loneliness is pain. And some people, sometimes some older people confuse solitude, which is the pleasure that comes with being alone. Mothers of young children really know about that. So we need to seek out companionship. I had a wise woman tell me that in life, our relationships are a funnel, and there's always people falling out of the bottom of the funnel. They move away, somebody dies, they change jobs, they don't work together anymore. And she said to me, you've got to keep putting people in the top of the funnel. Never stop, because there's always people coming at the bottom. If you stop putting people in the top, pretty soon the funnel's empty. And I took that to be there. So how do you improve your tolerance, thank you, as you age? How do you improve your tolerance? Different ways to interpret that, but let me just say, it's a big joke. You're going to die soon anyway. Why go rehearsing grievances from 1973, okay? Who really cares? Part of being an elder is saying, fine with all that. I will see if it comes up later, but one of the things I really believe in is the power of forgetting. If If you want to have a happy marriage, forgiving, that's not good enough. You got to forget. The question is, any miracle vitamins? And the answer is no. In the section on eat a variety of foods, not too much, mostly plants. Plants, mostly plants. Not vegetarian, but, eat mostly plants. Question about vitamins. Vitamins make expensive urine, okay? The human body can take in and can metabolize a certain amount of vitamins. If you take really high doses, they're not vitamins, they're drugs. They're functioning outside of the vitamin box. And actually, some vitamins can be used as drugs. I have prescribed them as drugs, big doses. That's not vitamins. Vitamins are micronutrients that you have to have because of our quirky metabolism. We can't make vitamin C. We need it, we can't make it, so we got to get it from the outside. If you don't have enough, you get scurvy. If you have too much, you pee it out. I can't remember all that you said. Do you have a website? I love that. I am telling you, you are the coolest people. Okay, so the answer is, yeah, I have a website. There's a website called changingaging.org. Changingaging.org. I also tour the country performing on stage. We have a nonfiction theater production we tour the country with. If you go to drbillthomas.org, I will tell you I'll be on stage in Denver next Friday. We're bringing the show. We start in Minneapolis on Monday. We're going to Omaha, Lincoln, Manhattan, Kansas, and then Denver. So you're my last stop before we go on tour. Changing Aging, one word. drbillthomas.org. Yeah. What is the best way to deal with fear of dying alone and being lonely and alone? I think a couple of things. If you have that fear, start planning. Think about the end of your life. A lot of people in this room right now are living without the illusion of immortality. You know you're going to die. So do it right. So our culture stigmatizes these conversations, but as a geriatrician, I was always very happy to say to people, I'm probably the last doctor you're ever going to have. So let's talk about your death. And a lot of people were like, oh, thank God. Because I had no reason to hide that. I wanted to do it right for them. Is moderation necessary as we age? Well, you've been aging since you're 28. And if a kegger really sounds like a fun time to you, my thing is, have at it. Okay. You see me passing some of these off because they've been asked before. Yes, can I talk about Alzheimer's and current research? So, we're living in this extraordinary longevity boom. It's the most amazing thing in human history. And look at you guys. If I brought ancient people in here and they saw you, they would freak out. They would never see this many older people. Incredible. So it's a wonderful thing. One of the consequences of that is that very long lifespans expose us to some very complicated chronic illnesses that don't affect younger people mainly. And Alzheimer's dementia is one of those things. Right now, to be clear, there's no effective treatment for Alzheimer's type dementia. There's a couple of drugs that we think help around the margins, not everybody, a subgroup, but there's no drug treatment. There is also, at this time, no proven preventive measure. The best evidence we have leaning toward that is physical exercise, honestly. Physical exercise seems, right now, is in the running as having the best track record for reducing, not preventing, not like your smallpox, but reducing the risk of Alzheimer's. And that's not proven yet. That's a little complicated. What supplements will help me mesh? I don't believe in supplements unless there's a thing that needs to be supplemented. And then you should take a supplement. The whole point of mesh is between your ears. That's where the issue is, not in your digestive tract. Oh, this is great. How do you deal with illness causing anger in nice people? Most people are nice when it's easy to be nice. A really small number of people are nice when it's really hard to be nice. And as a physician, I will tell you my thing. It's different when we're talking family members, but let me just say as a physician, unhappy, sad, people in pain who are suffering, they have no obligation to be nice to me. I have an obligation to understand something about their life and to have empathy for their situation. See what I'm saying? It's not always easy to carry that over into family relationships because there's a lot of history there. But it's good to remember that niceness is a luxury. And I love it. But when, you know what we already know this. Labor and delivery. Who says to the laboring woman, be nice? Nobody. No, you do what you want. You scream, holler, curse. It's all good. The question is, how do I move my brain to read? And mainly there, of course, I don't know the details, but it's like running or walking. You might have did 12-mile hikes, right? Now, 100 yards around a loop is what fits you. So I'm saying to somebody, don't think you got to sit down and read 100 pages. Perhaps the right amount of reading for you has changed the way the right amount of walking has. Now, I'm very sensitive to time, and we promised that everybody would be able to go at the proper time. So I'm looking for you to Megan, tell me. 10 more minutes. Is 10, I ask your permission. May I continue for 10 minutes? Okay. And I give you permission. If you need to go, no problem. It's all good. Okay. How do you help a 94-year-old be happier and find joy? So, happiness all through life, but especially in age, in later, we talked 94, happiness resides in relationships, not in things. So the 94-year-old who somebody feels could be happier could really benefit from relationships that are meaningful and authentic and reciprocal. How do you find a job or profession that you love? I think for me, the answer was go with the thing that you find yourself dreaming about. You know, I shifted to geriatrics because I stopped dreaming of the ER and started dreaming of being with older people. I could have stayed in the ER career, but it would have been a mistake for me. So, what is the secret to heal yourself? The very first step, and the one that I want to emphasize, is to believe that you can be healed. And remember, healing is going forward, not back. Nobody gets to go back to the way it used to be. Nobody. There is no healing that way. There's grief that way. So wherever you are today, believe that you can go forward and be healed. We're all mortal beings. We all know how this ends. But why not be healed? Funny thing, I learned a thing when I was taking care of people living in nursing homes. If I came in to people and said, "How are you doing?" they would say, "I'm doing great, doc." And that was obviously not true. And so I had to ask people, how are other people doing? And they would really tell me a lot of great info. So what I'm sort of saying about healing is believe. If you survey people in their 40s and people in their 70s, people in their 70s report being in better health than people in their 40s. They're not, but they report it. Okay. Question. Hi, I'm 40. How do I prevent this from being the worst decade ever? Pretty good goal there. I think the first thing is, and this is something that I like to do, I practice seeing myself as an elder in the making. So the 40-year-old here today, you're an elder in the making, okay? This 40-year-old business, this is warm-up. The real business is on the other side. So instead of seeing yourself as, oh, I can't run as fast, oh, I can't work as hard, see yourself as prepping for elderhood. There's life after adulthood, and it's called elderhood. So question, how do I feel about antidepressants for the elderly, especially those with mild dementia? Okay, I think, have you noticed I have not used that word, elderly? In the world that I'm a part of, our culture, we see the word elderly as being an ageist slur, and we don't use that word. Slur. A slur is a negative or hurtful word composed only of negative stereotypes. Now you can think of racial slurs, sexist slurs. There's also ageist slurs. So that's a word that I don't use. Other people use it. I've chosen not to. But let me reread this. How do you feel about antidepressants for older people, especially those living with mild dementia? Once again, I'm very interested in medicines that are helpful to people. If they're proven to be helpful and they have a positive benefit and a small enough risk, I'm all for it. I would never make a blanket statement about that because it depends on the patient. How can you increase DNA production with aging? You can't. I mean, if a day comes, let's imagine a day that comes where, and they use this kind of language, we hack the DNA and we slice in genes and we stop aging and we reverse aging and you start getting younger. I mean, I don't know, that could happen. But on that day, we would cease to be Homo sapiens, and we'd be something else. I don't know. Maybe it would be good. Maybe it would be bad. I have no idea. But as long as we're human, this is part of the package. So, yes, help with motivation for movement. I'll just say something here. 18 months ago, my wife, Jude, and I lost our 18-year-old daughter, Hannah. And in the aftermath of her death, I became very depressed and extremely grieved. Everyone in this room knows what I'm talking about. And I stopped moving. I felt I couldn't move. I felt in some ways almost like it was disloyal to the memory of my daughter to keep doing my moving, that I had to somehow stop living somehow. And I had a very hard time. And about a year ago, I picked up a little activity bracelet monitor thing and just started walking around a little. And it was enough, just a little bit of feedback was enough, and I think probably the depression starting to clear was enough for me to start moving. But I just want to say to you, I was very much in a situation where I had stopped moving and did not want to start moving. And it took a couple of things, a little bit of time and just starting on a very, very, very minimal, small level to start moving again. And now I'm happily moving again. Okay, we're down to a couple of minutes. There's a lot of interest in sex in this audience. Some technical questions I am passing over. Okay, this is something I would like to talk to you about. Single most important change in living arrangements you would make for aging. This seems counterintuitive, but hear me out. The American dream is something called aging in place. Aging in place says, I got my house, I got my condo, whatever it is. I'm staying here until you drag me out, and I will fight you all the way. Now, housing is constructed for lots of different reasons and for different purposes, and a lot of older people are living in houses that were designed really for raising young families, and they're terrible places to grow old. Transportation is terrible, a lot of social isolation, upkeep on the buildings, the cost. Aging in place is a disastrous dream. So I actually favor a different vision, which is something called aging in community. And what that means is aging is a team sport. You try to play by yourself, you lose. Not only that, younger people need you. Every generation in the history of humankind until this one, every generation has grown up in close contact with elders. We are rearing the first generation in the world to grow up without elders. So it's a two-way street. So aging in community means as we age, we commit to a communal life. That communal life can be organized around a multi-generational family. Yay, love that. But it can also be organized around intentional relationships, where we create relationships to people we're not actually related to. In fact, I was just watching, before we came over, a short video by, there's a place in Cleveland, Judson Manor, some of you might know it, Clevelanders in town. But they actually were finding, they're right next to a music conservatory. The music conservatory said, we have students who need housing. You've got some space. Can we work this out? And I was watching a video of music students. You've probably seen it on Facebook and stuff, yeah. It's like, yeah, people of different ages get along very, very well because we're made for it. The weird thing is isolating older people in a housing unit and telling them that if you leave there, you're a failure. That's what people believe. They have to stay in the house. They have to keep the house. And what they're afraid of is institutionalization. So I'm advocating for a third path, one that is really something called aging in community. Last question, and then we cut loose and head out. I have some books out there I'd be happy to sign, and we've answered some of these, so, right. I'm going to pick the last question. You know how it is. Wow. I just want to say to the mother who lost her daughter 5 years ago, yes, the grief is paralyzing. And part of what keeps me going is that I feel that I can do what I can to make the world a better place in Hannah's honor and memory. It is the only way I have, of holding on to that I can't be her dad anymore, but I can do my work in her honor. And so I bring her memory to you today. It's a very fine woman. Last question. It's good, and it's worth me emphasizing for you. Is weight gain or loss significant? And the answer is, in later life, weight loss is a much more serious problem than weight gain. I'll tell you a very quick little story. There's a giant of geriatrics named Dr. Robert Butler, who I had the good fortune of being mentored by. Last time I went to see him, he told me, Bill, I've lost 13 pounds. And in geriatric talk, do you know what he was saying to me? You won't see me again. So weight gain, we know a lot about, and it's actually, I know it doesn't seem it, but it's relatively easily managed. Weight loss terrifies me. That's really where you're in a tough spot. So move, eat, sleep, heal, and celebrate this crazy life you got given, and go out and make it great. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.